don't go to another channel. Where's my cheese? Where's my cheese? Oh my goodness, okay, my refrigerator's packed. Here I am. Back, hi, here I am, don't worry. Okay, so, I don't know how people cook with kids. Kids running all over the place. All right, now let's go back to this real quick. I want to show you that. Look at that, right? So that is just really, look at that. It's all come down. That's plenty for me. So I'm going to put my chicken in now. So I'm going to heat that up. Whoop. We're cooking off heat, shall they say. And actually, that's actually a really good point, and I should make mention of that, because when you're cooking, especially if you have an electric stove like I do, you know, it's not gas, so with gas you can cut the flame in a second, of course, and the heat goes out, and it depends on the kind of pan you have about how long it takes to get rid of the heat. If this was cast iron, it takes a long time for cast iron to heat up, but also cool down, but you can do a bunch of stuff off heat. But anyway, this is not. This is a Teflon pan. I'm actually going to put a little pepper in here. And I'm trying to cut down on my salt, so I'm not going to really add any salt because we're going to top it off with this salsa. And the salsa has salt, and you can always add that later if you want to. So this is enough for me. This is all I'm going to do. The chicken was really lukewarm. I cooked it just about an hour or so before we did this segment. So now I'm just going to put this aside. As you can see, I've got a well-oiled seasoned pan. Okay, so that's our ingredients that are going to go inside the omelet. And now the last thing I need to do is I need to weigh out the cheese. And this, what did this have in here? I can't remember. What did we weigh? What was this? What did we weigh? Oh, the chicken. Okay, so that's fine. That chicken was cooked, so I'm not worried about it. I need to wash that up. Okay. All right, turn that on. I tell you, I think I need a little bit more coffee. Okay, here we go. That's why I'm a big fan of timers, because I forget everything. I need multiple timers in the kitchen. All right, I'm zeroing this out, and we're going to do 1/2 ounce of part skim mozzarella. Those of you that watch the meatball show know that we did an ounce. This is going to be 1/2 ounce, 1/2 ounce, and I don't know how to count. That's 3/4. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, now I'm getting crazy. Okay, that's a little bit left. Okay, there we go. That's 1/2 ounce of cheese. That's all we're going to put into it. But I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the cheese. It's sort of neat. We're going to make a little crust with the cheese. All right, that's it. So I now have my spinach, my onions, and my chicken that I had cooked earlier, and I just heated it up. And now I have my cheese. Oh, and the other thing we need to do is we're going to whip the egg whites. So get yourself a nice whisk. And I like a big bowl. Yes, I could have used a small bowl like this, but you know what? It slops all over the place, folks. Be smart. Be wicked smart. I've actually done this in a blender before. We have a place, I think it's, oh, I forget, it's in downtown Chicago. I don't know if it's called Egg or Egg Yolk or something, but they bring out these egg white omelets. I mean, it's 6 egg whites, and the thing is this big. And I think they blend it in a blender. And I did that before, and it sort of worked. I think I was getting fancy, and I put hummus in it and spinach and the eggs, and it didn't quite get as high, but I'll have to try that again. So it's all in the wrist, so I'm just going to whisk this up. You want to get it foamy? My friend Ken, when he makes scrambled eggs for guests at they have a beautiful home in the Indiana Dunes, he actually separates the egg whites and the egg yolks, and then he whips up the egg whites and he folds them in to the egg yolks when he makes his scrambled eggs, and they're just really, really beautiful. So. Now, Rosie, if you like egg white omelets, I can make you I can bring one over to your show every single day. I can make you an egg white omelet. Look at that. Now, if you keep going, you know, you could make egg whites. You don't need a fancy blender to make. I mean, a food processor or a KitchenAid to make egg whites. You can make it yourself. Okay, that is enough. Now we are ready to assemble all of this on the stove and make our omelet. All right, so now we're going to put together our omelet. And I will say I did clean out the pan a little bit that we had sauteed the onions and things in. I don't know. You could use it for flavor, but I just cleaned it out because I didn't want to burn it. I'm just going to put a little bit more olive oil on. Just a little bit of a drop. Woo, hot. You don't have to do that. I don't know why. I'm being crazy today. All right, now, You don't need the olive oil to not make your cheese stick. What's not going to make the cheese stick is the fact that this is Teflon. I'm actually going to put this cheese right into the pan. I have this on about medium high, and I also have my broiler on, okay? I have my broiler on because I'm going to stick this in the broiler. So this is how you make the little cheese crust. Look at that, all right? So that's crusting up. I've got my egg whites that are very fluffy. They separated a little bit, so I'm just going to whip them up. And I'm going to pour them in. I'm actually going to get my spatula because I want to get everything in there. Now, here's the trick with omelets that most people don't know about, okay? You take your spatula, and after a couple of minutes it starts to set a little bit. You lift up the edges, and you get the liquid goes underneath it. You don't wait for the whole thing to firm up. You help it firm up itself. I'm going to turn this heat down a little bit because I can smell the cheese, right? So I'm just lifting the sides. I'm going to put this in the broiler so we don't have to worry about it totally cooking everything on the pan. Ooh, see that? So the liquid goes in, and you get that around the sides, right? It gets a little messy, but it's egg whites. And there we go. And we got all that from. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in all of the stuff that I had made before. And you could have actually put this right in the pan and poured the egg white on it too. That's fine, because sometimes these crack because it's eggs white. It's not the same as your regular egg. Okay, so it's still obviously it's very loose. I'm not that worried about it because now I'm actually going to take this. Actually, we can cook it a little bit longer. We get the edges around. It's not a big deal. Don't be afraid if the whole thing breaks up. Now I'm going to stick this on the top. I put my shelf very close to the burner, and now I'm going to stick this right onto the top. And that will cook it. And those of you that ever make a frittata, that's actually how you make a frittata. And usually the frittata will often be in a cast iron skillet, which we could have made this a frittata easily. In fact, I don't know why I did, because if this doesn't flip over, I'm going to tell you it's a frittata, or I should have made a frittata. But that's a great thing to make on a Sunday, and the only difference there is you put all the ingredients and you put the eggs and it bakes right into the eggs, which we could have done too. So this is probably going to take, now this has this little handle on it. This isn't really plastic, well, it's plastic, but it can go into the heat. It's a good pan, and I'm just going to let this toast up a little bit so it just dries it out, cooking the eggs a little bit. So I'm going to leave that in for, I don't know, just a couple of more minutes. I don't always leave the stove when this is happening. I usually watch it, but you can see how it's starting to puff up a little bit. And it's nice because if you have, if you got one of those big fancy, stoves, like the big Vikings and stuff, they've got a lot of power under the broiler. I mean, it's like flames going, and you got to be really careful because it doesn't take that long to really toast up something. I've done that at my friend Natasha's house. This is just an electric stove that I've got here in my apartment. And let's see. Look at that. So that looks pretty good. I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to actually, my oven is still on my stovetop. I didn't turn it off. I'm going to put this back on because I want to just make sure that it's pretty done and it looks pretty good. Okay, it's perfect. All right, so now we are going to let this just sit here back in for a second. I'm going to rest it for just less than a minute, and we're going to plate this up. Okay, so now our omelet is done. I had broiled it a little bit, and then we just let it sit on the back of the stove, and I'm looking for my spatula. This one I did not use. I used the red one, I think, I hope. Okay, so this great little pineapple, you guys know, I've been cooking all day, these shows. Of course, I'm still in the same shirt. This is our third show, but I found this great little darn pineapple, and I'm going to use it. I keep forgetting to use it. So here's our omelet. Again, we've got a spinach, onion, chicken, 298 calories, and 44.7 grams of protein. Don't be afraid. I don't know if this is in the way, so I'll move it. Don't be afraid. I'm just going to take the omelet. I'm going to flip it over. And look at that. That's all the cheese that we put on the bottom. And I don't know about you, but I used to love, when you make a grilled cheese sandwich and you pressed it down, at least my mother did with the American cheese, and you got that crust around the cheese on the bread. That was my favorite. So I love making that in my omelet. So here's our beautiful egg white omelet. And I'm telling you, if you don't think this will fill you up, one cupcake with buttercream frosting is about 250 to 300 calories depending on the size of the cupcake. You will be hungry probably in 30 minutes or less after you eat a cupcake. You eat a beautiful omelet like this is going to satisfy you for a couple of hours. And in fact, this is probably too big for most people, and this is still under 300 calories. So that's an amazing, amazing amount of oomph. I'm going to turn off my broiler because I'm old and I forget. And I'm going to finally use my pineapple. Let's see, why don't we just cut, ooh! I cut that in half. Look at that. I'm not going to add this to the calorie count because I'm going to pretend that you're not going to eat it. So there we go. All right. So now I'm going to do 4 tablespoons. This is this Tomatillo Sauce made from, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Tomatillo tomatoes, which are those tomatoes that have that little, what would you say? It's like, not like, it's like an onion skin on it. It's like a little skin. So stir this up a little bit. This is beautiful stuff. This is pretty mild. This is mild or medium. And then again, this is from Frontera Grill. I'm just going to put this on the omelet. I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of this. I'm going to sip my coffee like I need it, right? Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. And then we're going to actually, this is crazy. Look what I'm doing. What am I going to do? And I'm going to garnish this with this beautiful little, oh, I'm going to use the big one on this side. Push this. Nobody used to see me use my fingers. I'm going to garnish this with this beautiful little pineapple. If you want to be fancy, let's put a little pepper on the plate like we're in some fancy restaurant. And look at that. Okay, so here we go. Chicken spinach omelet with onions and a little bit of a cheese that you can still see that's on that crust there with the tomatillo sauce. And again, 298 calories and 44.7 grams of protein if you don't eat this little baby pineapple. So I'm actually going to cut into this, if that's okay. And I just want you to, actually I'm going to cut in so you can see the inside. And you may want to split this with somebody, and then that's great because now you've only had 150 calories. In fact, let me get a plate. And I'll get a spatula here. This is my grandfather's spatula. Look at this thing. This thing is so, look how thin that is. I can cut paper with this thing. And so here, let's just look at this. I'm going to put this up in another plate. I mean, look at that. Come on now. Right? Like, why wouldn't you want to eat that? Hardly dieting. Look at that. And then you can put the little pineapple if you guys want to split it. All right. That is it. Again, this is The Unexpected Guest. My name is John Clese, and I want to thank you so much for joining me here for my show in Chicago. I'm trying to keep you healthy, doing the best that I can, and remember, be good to, what is my little saying? I forget. Be good to yourself, because there's no substitute for you. All right. Tune in again. I'm sure we'll make some other great food for you that you will enjoy with either just yourself or with your family.